Okay, this is the fifth and final video in my series of checking and adjusting valve clearances on a Triumph Thunderbird 1600. It's a recap of where I am to date. The job is finished. Last video I was just in position where I was refitting the alternator cover and I'd got to put the cam cover back on. So the alternator cover, straightforward, a new gasket between the sealing faces. I'd already in a previous video put new sealant around the back of the grommets, which take these two cables, from one from the alternator and one from the crankshaft pickup. Case goes on, torque it up to specified setting, then the cam cover goes on, a bit of a jiggle to get it in, and I also put a new seal on there as well. You have to, on the seal itself, there are four D sections, two at each end, and you have to put a small amount of silicone sealant on the cylinder head before you fit the new seal. Once you've got the head cover or the cam cover back in place, you have to just lift it up again so that you can refit the cam end shields, which I believe are purely cosmetic, and have an O-ring on the back to hold them in place and secure them. Torque the cam cover down, that goes down to 12 Newton meters, and there is a specified torquing pattern in the manual. Once you've got that done, refit the spark plugs. Because it was 12,000 mile service, I was putting new spark plugs in anyway, so they were gapped. Put them back in, and you torque them down to 20 Newton meters. Refit your coil packs. Get your connections back onto the coil packs before you put anything else in. So once you've done all of that, the next thing to go back on is this coolant pipe that runs right across the top of the cylinder head. Simple, just a reversal of getting it out really. It slides first into this radiator top hose, so slide that end into there and then drop the back end into the thermostat housing, which is in there. Tighten the clamps up, then refit the filler hose here, tighten it, clamp up, and then that just bolts back onto the frame underneath the headstock. Fill it up with coolant. I've used this Motul Motorcool, sorry. It will mix with anything that's already in the engine, and I thought I was going to get away. The engine, it specifies 2.2 litres, and I thought because I hadn't done a full engine strip I'd probably get away with 2 litres. I didn't. I had to go back and get another bottle. So you can see I've had 2 full ones of these and that amount out of there. So you do need to get the right amount of coolant. So I trickled the coolant in an attempt not to get too much air into the system. Nice thing is that it's got a little bleed plug here, so take that out, fill the system up, coolant runs out of here, put the bung back in, job done. I did install a new copper washer on there. So that done, it's then just a case of getting all of the cabling back in and just plugging everything back up. Not a problem. I couldn't remember how this arrangement sat here, but again with digital photographs, I took some photographs on my phone, and it was great, a great assistance. And that's the job done really. I have struck the engine up. It sounds fine. I'm pleased I did the job. It did need doing, obviously, because I had 3 shims that were out of spec. What do you actually need to do the job? Well, I'm fortunate. I do have a bike lift. It does mean that you can get the bike up and down into a nice position to work on it. Because it's a cruiser, it doesn't have a centre stand, so I invested also in what they call a plate jack here, and also Triumph do this stand which comes up underneath the footrest hangers, which is there. I've got it covered in gaffer tape to stop it taking paint off, but you could fabricate something like this, but I do believe that you need something like that arrangement so that you can get the bike in an upright position. Now, on top of that, you'll need some special tooling, which we've gone, well, first and foremost, you will need the Triumph Thunderbird workshop manual. I picked that up off the internet on a disc, but you wouldn't be able to do it without it. I don't believe that anybody else does a workshop manual for it, and you need it. You can't do it without it. Next, you will need this baby, which is the tool for holding the alternator rotor. I did discuss the dimensions of that in a previous video. You will not be able to get the rotor undone unless you can hold it. Once you've got the centre nut out of the rotor, you'll need the puller, and this is the one I made. And for those that are interested, the dimensions are that from the tip to this shoulder here is 82.5. The thread length is 43. This relief is 15mm, and this shoulder is 17mm. And then all I did was drill it and tap it to take a 16mm bolt, and then held the bolt in with some high strength retainer, because you're only ever putting the force on it in the direction that tightens this bolt up anyway. But I did just put some retainer on there to hold it in place. The thread itself is 32 by 1.5 pitch, and this the nose is 120 degrees inclusive on the angle. So once you've got the rotor off, then you need the locking tool for locking the crank in position whilst you take the cams out, do the cam, the valve timing, etc, etc. And so that's this pin again, which I made. Basic dimensions is 6mm diameter, 10mm diameter, and then this was just a nominal 14mm diameter. The two reduced reliefs here are 42mm each, and then the other one is 145mm. And in all honesty, that could have actually been a little bit longer. It was okay, but a little bit longer, and ideally a knurl on the end would help you get it in and out. What I did here, a nice generous chamfer on these two here, and then also what I did was I put a groove here which is 88mm from this shoulder to the groove. And the reason I put that on there is it was very difficult to tell when you'd actually got it in place, and the design of it is really quite poor, because this tip is so weak. Once it's in place, it's very easy to actually just bend it, so you have to be really careful. And what I did was I had made these tags up and put them on various places just to remind myself that the locking tool was still in place before I tried to rotate the engine, because I did actually tweak it once and had to set it back up and straighten that. So it very easily bent, very, very weak in its design. However, it does do the job, and you won't be able to do the change the shims without the locking pin in place. On top of that, I do believe you need a good toolkit. I have a very good selection of spanners. I have quarter drive socket set, 3/8 drive socket set with two 3/8 drive torque wrenches, and then we go up to the 1/2 inch drive socket set with the big torque wrench that you'll need for pulling the alternator rotor bolt up to 165 Newton meters, which is a struggle on your own. Made me puff. So the job's done. I'm pleased I did it. It was difficult, and it had me it had me struggling on more than one occasion, but job done. I have struck the engine up. It sounds nice. So yeah, good job done. I did mention in one of my previous videos that I was going to change the bars, so I've started that already. It's going reasonably well. The throttle cables, you have to put new throttle cables on, longer ones, and they were, you have to, well, I ended up taking this injector body back off again so that I could get in there to release the cables. So I'm not going to dwell on anything else too much. If I'm during the course of changing the handlebars, if anything comes up that I think is a point of interest, I'll probably just do another short video on that. But other than that, thank you very much for watching. If you do have any comments, please leave comments. I've enjoyed doing the videos, and I probably will do more in the future. So I think cheerio for now.